Guys, welcome in. We got fence stock number 2. I mean, hello. We got some home improvement here. We did some things. We got a logo. Shout out to Tater. We literally asked him for 2 things. We asked for a logo and we asked for a banner for social media.
Yeah, something simple, and he went above and beyond for sure.
He gave us a marketing campaign. We can literally run for office. Chris and Kyle. Long story is we got some shout outs quickly just to kind of thank you guys for all of your input.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
We added these are our input. We added chairs. We wanted to add mics. We wanted to look official, like a referee with a whistle. But we listened to my wife. Shout out to my wife. Shout out to Dark Whistles.
Dark motherfucking whistles.
They both gave us, and your wife too. All 3 ladies gave us just the quick and clear just synopsis of what we didn't want to hear, but we heard it. And I think it was very valid points.
Oh yeah.
And we obviously changed it. We're not going to go into the depth of what it was, but we wanted to shout you guys out. And last but not least, I want to shout out Goose. We called this guy on a Sunday at mind you, he's about to have another kid.
Yeah.
And we called him at I think it was 1 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah, I told him I need a 30-second phone call.
Which turned into 5 a.m. Needless to say, if you're not good at math, it was close to 5 hours, 4 hours in a conversation that should have been a podcast. Which we were already working on, actually him coming down here and shooting a nice podcast and kind of having his input. Long story is we heard that and we want to keep them a little bit shorter for you guys. We're a new channel, so we want to keep you engaged. We want to hear you guys out and we want to hear your input. So follow us on all our social media. Actually, shoot us down some fucking topics. What you guys like, what you want to hear, what you want to get some information. I did my homework on this topic and I got some facts. I mean, shit, they may be wrong. I don't know. But I mean, I'm like a politician. I'll promise you something and I won't keep it true. Long story is we're keeping them very topic-based. As opposed to the first one, I think we were just, we're still inexperienced, we're new. But bottom line, we're getting to the topic. Fence Talk number 2 with Chris.
And Kyle.
And we got a good topic for you guys today. I think it's something that our generation, we're millennials, and obviously Gen Z is very scared of dabbling into. Which is either do you rent or do you buy a house? Mm-hmm. And obviously the pros, the cons, the hardship that comes with both, and the ease that comes with both, and the comfort that comes with both, and obviously the discomforts, and obviously as well how hard it is now, right? And we're not complaining, we're not crying, we don't want the pat on the back. We just want to prove to you guys that there is some either statistics, but also some proof that no matter what you're doing, there's always a version that's gonna, where you can actually not be afraid of taking any leap. And starting off, we started with I guess humble beginnings, and we're still at humble beginnings as far as we started with a condo, and then we, family grows, more kids, and you.
That's also assuming that. Oh,
Cheers,
you're talking
brother.
about us individually.
Yeah. And this goes with buying property. You can buy a condo or
right.
Or a
Yeah,
house.
that's what I first started off with. I didn't go apartment. I didn't do the renting. Out the gate, I was kind of. I thought I knew it. Maybe I didn't at the time. I was pretty young, but I didn't want to rent. I didn't want to.
How old were you when you first did this?
23.
23. All right, so young age.
Yeah. And it came down to I was starting a family. I was starting to have my first son, and do we go apartment? Do we rent? Until we could save some more money, or do we try to save up and buying and go the condo route? And I try to avoid the renting at all costs in my head. I just didn't see the long term value in it. I thought for sure that this is not a long term investment. You don't get any equity built out of it, and so I didn't go that route with it, and we ended up with we went condo to start. So
and same here. Obviously, prior to that, I was living in my parents, so I I wanted to own for the simple reason that obviously I already had the notion from my dad that at least if all comes to shit, right? Mm-hmm. You own the property, you can always sell it, and then there's some positive equity. And specifically, what equity is just think about it this way: you buy a property for $100,000, and you come in, houses, great, it's livable, but then you start changing a little bit of the floors, you change the paints, you do some upgrades in the bathroom, you do some upgrades in the kitchen, and you do some upgrades, overall cosmetic, right? Things that actually make it your home, but also add a little bit of value. And by default, by statistics and by facts, is that you redo your bathroom to a modern bathroom, even if it's box cutter Home Depot shit, like
Uh-huh.
your vanity, whatever, automatically every $1,000 that you spend, it increases by that, if not 1.5.
Right.
Same goes with the
Which
kitchen.
which is stuff I never even knew because I didn't even do that type of,
Correct.
you know,
So, so let's say you even don't do
I was
anything.
too afraid to spend money thinking it's going to be a waste of money versus that actually improves value.
100%. And that's the one thing that I didn't know in the beginning either. So when I bought my house, so let's say even if you just bought that house, right? Or a condo, $100,000. By automatic, you gave 20% down, right? And 20% down of $100,000 is literally $20,000. After closing costs, you're at maybe $30,000 that you gave down. Originally, what you're financing is $80,000, 85, call it, right? So $85,000. Now you're going to look into your mortgage. Your mortgage is going to include a couple of things. You're going to have insurance, you're going to have taxes, and you're going to have interest, and also you're going to have your mortgage, what goes into your interest, what you're paying down your balance. What they don't tell you is the first 7 years of your mortgage, 7 years, literally 80% of what's taken out of your mortgage. So if your mortgage is $1,000, $800 goes towards interest for the first 7 years, because that's how a finance company, and that's a finance company collects their interest rate for the first 7 years, top, no matter what happens. They want to get their return on investment because obviously
Oh,
they're
yeah,
letting
as
you
soon- as
borrow.
soon
It's
as
a
possible,
bank.
yeah,
They
right,
have
yeah.
investors. They have, they have a spreadsheet that they got to fucking follow through, and they collect their interest rate. And you're gonna look at that, and you should look at that. You look at your paperwork, looking at like a pay stub per se, and you go, okay, well, I'm sending $1,000, but fuck, it's only $100 is going into my principal.
Yeah, you
How
feel like you're doing nothing.
yeah, how come I've only paid 1,200 towards my 85,000, right? I only owe 884. Like, what the fuck's going on the first year? Well, you got to think about it. 800 goes to the interest, 100 goes to the insurance, and 100 goes to the taxes. Now, if you're in a deficit, that's called escrow. We're not going to get into finite details of that. We're just going to give you the basics. Well, in a year from now, let's say around your area, for whatever reason, they build a better school or X, Y, and Z. And by default, every 5 years to 10 years, properties double their value, if not sometimes triple. And God forbid, which is great, there's a shitstorm in the market and there's a lack of houses. Well, guess what? Your property goes up in value. So if your property, you bought it for 100, you owe 84. The next year, the property values skyrocket. Your property is now worth 150. You technically can sell your house for 150 after closing costs. You made a quick $45,000-$50,000 depending on what your costs are of selling. Well, guess what? You would have never, and even if you tried saving and you make $100,000 a year after taxes, even if you tried saving $45,000 in a year, it's damn near impossible with today's costs.
Oh yeah.
And even at any cost, like, because we're obviously complaining about, oh, shit is so expensive. But if you think about it, it's just inflation. Every year something changed. And I have something where, like, well, we'll go into that later. But then the benefits of that is obviously you have some positive equity where you're building some, like a savings account, call it. Now the negatives, right? The positives, obviously, that you're building positive equity.
Right.
Another positive is it's yours.
Yeah.
It's yours. Like, nobody can kick you out unless you don't pay your mortgage. Nobody can kick you out. Nobody can tell you how you paint it. Nobody can tell you how you customize it. Now, if you do have a condo, there might be some HOA bullshit. There might be some things where you have to, and you actually can speak more on that.
Oh yeah, man, I had some rough times with that HOA.
New Year's Eve.
Rough times with that HOA. So yeah, I owned a condo, but it was under an HOA, and you have to abide by their rules, and some are, they're all different, but like my parents, like they can't change their mailbox. Their mailbox has to match. The whole neighborhood has the same exact mailbox. They can't plant, past X amount of numbers at all. Like, or the plants, my mom wants to put a lot more out there and decorate. She can't. She'll get in trouble. She'll get fined for it. It's ridiculous.
How about weed? Can you plant?
The ones that I went through, it was more like curfew laws, and one that I thought was crazy. And
That's because they thought you were a toddler with your size.
yeah,
This
they might have thought
motherfucker
they
can't
might
be
have thought I
out
was kindergarten the next day. But yeah, before I had kids, I have an occasional smoke inside the house, and uh, I wasn't allowed to smoke in my garage,
What?
but I could smoke in the house. Things like that, all because of
So they were worried more about your fucking car than you did.
yes, and the
second-
interior of the condo.
Well, I see it. A part of it makes sense because they're connected, right? It's a wall dividing one condo or a townhouse from another townhouse, right?
Right.
But the garage.
Garage.
So
Couldn't,
you
have,
can
couldn't have a
turn-
cigarette in my garage.
So you can turn on your car with the garage door closed,
Mhm.
leave the car running with remote start that can technically kill anything in sight.
Yeah.
But you can't smoke one fucking cigarette.
Not under that HOA. I wasn't allowed to. I trust me, I got fined for it. I had many complaints from from my neighbor.
Fuck you.
But yeah, it's just as soon as I realized that, because out the gate, right? Like, I'm not trying to scare you away from HOAs entirely.
Mhm.
You know, a lot of the times it's more for maintenance work and things like that, and you know, it's until you start to break the rules that they start to pay attention to you.
Yeah, because then at that point you're the scapegoat. You're the
Mhm.
guinea pig.
Yeah, but before that, like, you know, they do good things, and that's I never had to go shovel my driveway,
Mm.
you know, things like that. Like, they take care of that on the outside. I never had to cut my grass; they cut the grass. Like,
Oh,
that's all
shit.
part of the
The
HOA.
amenities. The amenities. of
Yeah,
it.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah. So it's like I owned, so I had equity, but I also had to abide by rules underneath it. So it's kind of like a balance in between, in
Yeah.
a way. But I didn't want to do it again.
And you even have to do that sometimes in homes. Like we thankfully, sometimes my English words don't work. Thankfully, we technically have an HOA, but we can actually option to not be in it.
Yeah, and
fucking-
I've been here for 3 years, and I don't know one thing that our HOA like has a rule for.
well, where we live, we're the youngest ones here. Like
Well, that's true.
everybody's been
That's
here.
true. That's true.
Everybody. I mean, I bought my house from the original owner. I almost
Mhm.
want to bet you 100,000 fucking, cheek list that you bought it from the original owner too. So the HOA to here
Yeah,
is
true.
probably a fucking old folks retirement
Yeah.
nagging about us two drinking and smoking in our garages.
Here comes the younger
Did you
generation.
see the fucking Mexican and the fucking bearded little toddler? They're smoking. Fuck. Don't spit on the
The
couches. bro.
bearded toddler.
But my brother has an HOA and he's got like a new construction
Uh-huh.
and he like his house is fairly new and he's got a HOA and I think they told him like I forgot what it was, but it was like they gave him shit for leaving his garbage cans on garbage day, leaving his garbage cans out
past a certain
too
hour?
long, and he's like, motherfucker,
Past
I
a certain
work
hour, and you're not even home.
from 10 a.m. to
Not
10
even
p.m.
home.
My wife is pregnant. You really think that my wife's dude? So you still have those headaches, but there is some amenities. They do clean,
Yeah.
all this shit, right?
They just don't put your garbage cans away.
Don't do that because God forbid, or you smoke inside the garage because you don't want to get the secondhand smoke on the car. So yeah, so there is that, right? Like so there's some positives and then there are some negatives. And one of the biggest negatives to owning a property is maintenance, right? You're responsible 110% for every single thing that
Ooh,
breaks,
yes.
that you need to repair or you need to upgrade. Roof, fucking forget about it. $30,000. Windows, fuck you. You might as well sell your kidney.
Yeah, and those are impossible to like save for in a sense because like
Mhm.
you never know when it's gonna happen. You never know how much it's gonna cost. And if you're saving that kind of money, but you also know you could use it elsewhere to help you out with
Oh, yeah.
bills and all that, it's like where do you draw that balance? Now, don't get me wrong, you always want to try to have a little bit extra in case something does break, but
When it's a perfect storm when shit hits the fan.
so again, our homes are older. They were both 70s.
Yeah.
We had
Mine's from 69, you know.
when I moved here, I made sure to get a homeowner's insurance.
I wish I would have done that, and I didn't know anything about
Oh man, it saved me a few times
Mm.
because a lot of the amenities and everything in the house was original.
that.
And in the 3 years I've been here, and maybe the old owners kind of knew timing, and they're like, "Yo, things might start to break, and we're out of here." The first year I moved in, my water heater broke. I had to
Mm.
get that fully replaced.
$1,000 right there.
The next year, my air conditioning broke.
Fucking $5,000.
I went downstairs and I saw a whole leak, from humidity outside the pipes and everything, and had to get that whole thing replaced. It's things like that that just pop up, and then if I didn't, and the fact of the homeowner's insurance, it saved me like that.
Yeah.
You got to pay your deductible down payment for like $65 for the guy to come out and take a
Fucking
look.
nothing.
And as long as it's not something that you broke and it was actually an issue with the equipment, covered.
Yeah, so that's one thing that you should definitely get. I think I could still get it. I don't know. Don't quote me on it. I don't have any information on that. But you do your own research. Obviously, if you buy a property, it's a great thing to have. Get a warranty. Make sure that your shit's covered, because when it happens, it all happens in tandem. God forbid.
And I'm still 3 years later. And they kind of make it sound like when you first go get one of those warranties that it's a 1 year deal and then you're kind of done, because it's kind of like a new home to you. You don't know how, you might not know everything in the house and how it works yet. We're going to give you a year. I've been able to extend it year after year after year so far.
That's awesome.
And it saved me every year so far.
So it pays itself.
Mm-hmm. Oh,
What's
the
price on it?
I don't know. I think it was like, it was a one-time fee, like per year. It was only $200-300 for the year.
Oh shit!
And
That's
it's covered me for multiple grand at this point.
Fuck, that's nothing. Absolutely. So there you go. So that's one thing that I learned today. That's one thing you should look into. And obviously the negative to that is that obviously when something breaks, and it always is a perfect storm. Plumbing breaks, everything is expensive, labor's super expensive.
Yep.
So you should definitely also dabble. Thanks to fucking YouTube, also you can learn to do a lot of shit. Like I did a lot of shit in my house.
I've learned so much since becoming a homeowner just from YouTube.
Yeah, fucking YouTube plumber, YouTube. We're certified in everything. Fucking forklift driver. I've never driven one, but I'm certified. So I can fly a plane too. But yeah, it's it's one of those things where it's a negative, right? You have that stress. Obviously, you have that stress of the breaking something, the this, the that.
Right. Versus the renting side.
The renting aside. Now let's go into the renting. The
what
pros.
do you got to do?
The pros of renting are literally the negatives of owning a house.
Yeah.
You don't have to worry about if something breaks. If you live and you rent somewhere, you pay a deposit. If you fuck something up, they keep your deposit.
Call the landlord.
If something breaks, then you call the landlord. Yep. You say, "Hey,
it's his job at that
John,
point.
My AC's not working."
Yep.
Hey, I'll send somebody out. Perfect. Hey, my pipes are clogged. It happens to him all the time. Not in his house. Well, guess what, John? I need somebody to come out here, and they do, right? That's it. Anything that happens to that place while you're living,
it's on their dime. It's on their dime, their time to have to deal with talking with these companies and scheduling, getting them out, making sure they're available. Because
and you don't have to deal with that. And then the next one is you don't have to worry about how expensive the insurance is for the property. You don't have to worry because I'm gonna bring this up because I actually wrote it down. I found the hard way today. So I have my other property that I used to have, and I found this, mind you, I'm no longer there, but I found out from a friend of mine that the insurance premium on that property went from $1,200 to $2,850. That's almost three fucking times. So mind you, that's added to whoever has a mortgage.
Yeah.
So if you have your mortgage at $1,000 and you divide $2,800,
and you can't
do anything about it.
That. No, not doing anything about it. You can't expect that that's going to happen from year to year. You just find out.
As soon as the premium,
find out.
That's it. And if you have if you rent, you don't have to worry about that. You don't have to worry about your mortgage. If your mortgage met escrow and then now you owe more on taxes or X, Y, and Z, you don't have to worry about any financial problems except for making your payment for your rent on the first. And also, a lot of people may know this or not know this, by law, and it's at least here in the state of Illinois, you have until the 5th before the rent's considered late. And after that, they can only charge you $75 late fee or 5% of the rent.
Okay.
So, you're tight on money and you only have half of the rent. You call your landlord and you say, "Hey, listen, John, I'm going to be 5 days late." Yeah. Well, guess what? $75 late fee as opposed to it going on your credit and you now sent the late payment, and also you get the same set, maybe $75 or $100, whatever the fucking late fee on your mortgage is. But now that shows up as a late payment on your credit. As a tenant, it doesn't. Yeah. Unless they're reporting to your credit. That's a different thing. Okay. But nowadays, I found out through a real estate guy that I know, a good realtor friend, and he said back in the day, if you were a landlord, you can actually do a background check and you can do a credit check. And then you do proof of income and previous landlord reference. Yeah. Nowadays, you can do the landlord reference, but the landlord could lie. Or it could be a cousin that fucking they gave a number to. And fucking the cousin answers, he's great. He was on time. What was the address? Or they say, I used to live with my mom. What do you think your mom's gonna give a bad fucking reference? He was great.
Right.
He leaves his socks everywhere, but fuck. You
Yeah,
know.
just because they want you out. Yeah.
Exactly. And then now, by law in the state of Illinois at least, if you want to do a credit check, you have to ask them. If they say no, end of game.
Really?
And you can no longer legally do a background check. So you can have a pedophile, you can have a murderer, which a lot of ex-convicts, maybe you have some bullshit call or whatever the fuck it is. But if you're a landlord and you live in the place and you kind of like also are a landlord, or if you just...
That's crazy.
And you have other families, let's say you have multi-units, whatever, as a landlord, you can't do that. And as a renter, you would want to have that peace of mind that I don't have a fucking serial killer up top. Or a guy that fucking, you know, a pedophile and you have your kids and all that shit.
They could just bring in anyone.
It can bring in anybody because at this point,
that's out there.
A landlord doesn't want vacancy, right? Because that's how they cover their mortgage, right? So that's another negative of being a renter as opposed to the positives. Like I said, the positives, you don't worry about any financials except for your rent. That's 100% it. If you want to buy renter's insurance, it's $15 fucking a month as opposed to what I just told you, $2,850. That's ridiculous. That's
crazy.
That's a Honda Civic with a souped up Pep Boys Honda fucking muffler that sounds like a lawnmower. So those are the positives. Something breaks, you can. You can literally just make a call. Now the negatives, it's not yours. You're not making any money. At the end of the year, you rent for 5 years and you didn't save any money. Well, guess what? You walk out with having to have paid close to, if your rent's $1,000, that's $12,000 a year. I'm sorry, that's $24,000 in 2 years.
60 a year or 60 for 5.
It's 60 for 5. So
you get nothing.
And you get nothing
back.
in return.
You're walking out and that's it.
Maybe peace of mind, maybe no stress, maybe you don't age as much as you age as a homeowner and the stress and the fucking heartburn, but you don't have that stress. Now the negatives is that. The new laws that have been implemented where they don't do background checks, they don't do any of that. So you have that safety mentality where like, okay, who the fuck am I living with?
And here's the other side of that, you know, when you walk out with nothing versus, you know, first time homeowners or apartment, you know, you walk out with nothing if you rent.
Correct.
And how it worked with me, and here's a huge part to this. When it comes to owning and building that equity, right? Mm-hmm. The way that it mainly works, like, trust me, you know, houses can lose value, but that's very rare.
It's very
rare.
Unless we hit another 2008 with fucking...
So what happened with me is when I bought that first condo, we were there for 3 or 4 years. And by the time I was able to sell it, the equity that it gained was enough to put in a down payment to own a house entirely.
That was at a better value.
Oh, yeah.
Or twice the value.
Uh-huh.
Now, automatically, you gave 20% down.
But that 20%, again, came from what?
From your positive
From the equity.
And you still, and here's the thing. You may go, okay, if you've never had the experience, or at least if I were thinking it in a simpler terms, you go, okay, well, fuck it. I got the positive equity. I cashed out at $50,000, right? And I buy a $200,000 property, right?
Mm-hmm.
Bigger house in a suburb, and you got a little cul-de-sac, you got a big backyard, the kids can run, you do all the fucking American dream white picket fence bullshit. You go, well, fuck, well then I don't get to taste the money. Well, first of all, you can't taste it legally. Why? Legally, you have to pay taxes on that because you made money. I forgot the correct term, but it's you made profit in your property.
Right.
It's like a business. You sold an item and you made profit. You have to pay taxes. Uncle Sam needs his money. I don't even know a person named Sam, but apparently he wants money. And you have to use that money in a way that's non-taxable. And the only way to use that money, or at least that I know, that you won't get taxed on is if you put it towards another property, because they look at it, if you sell that property that you bought, like for example, you cashed out that positive equity from your condo, you put it as a down payment towards your house, and your house, when you sell that house, they look at it and they say, when you sell this house that you have in the suburb, now we'll tax you on top of that, whatever positive equity you have.
Right.
So you gave that money, and anybody else would be like, well, fuck, I can't touch that money. So what's the positive of that? I could have walked away. What if I want to walk away and just fucking walk away?
Uh-huh.
Right? Now you can. There's ways of doing that. I'm not a tax attorney. I'm not a legal advisor by any means. Don't get arrested for my stupid fucking notes over here. but because then you'll get free rent and free food. That'll be a better living situation, but not that great. But and I mean jail. Long story is you grab that money and you go, well, I don't taste it. Well, you do. Because not only did you just buy a bigger house in a better neighborhood, or you got that American dream house, you got that bigger house, or more bathrooms, more toilets that you can take shits on, and a big backyard, right? Where you can meet a neighbor and start a podcast with. And or he confuses you for the fucking construction worker like he thought I was. And
Stealing from Home Depot.
And he thought that I was a Home Depot guy. Fucking asshole. Well, I thought you were just one of the
Cheap
kids.
for work too.
I thought they had a daycare.
No, he was cheap for work too. Like first time I asked him, like he did so much work in my garage, and he was just like, I didn't know if I was gonna see him again.
I never wrote an invoice. I still got to write that fucking invoice. Wait till you get shocked with that one. But fucking long story is he now has a bigger house, a better house, and he has on top of the $50,000 that he gave down.
There's a huge thing to that too, right? I upgraded and I was able to get the property I have now, the house I have, with the down payment I gained from the equity from the condo. And I bought this house 3 years ago. I've only been here for a little over 3 years. And if you look now with how inflation's and all these rates change,
Oh yeah,
if I were to look up that condo today that I lived in, it sells. I'm not even kidding. For the same price I bought my house for that I currently live in. Now, it jumped up that much.
doubles in value in 3 years.
In 3 years.
In
Now,
3 years.
with that, I also bought this house pre-COVID.
Correct. So
Now,
you got
it's post-COVID, and that's why that value on that condo has jumped up so much.
because
And not only that, the insurance, the interest rates have doubled.
Mm-hmm. And I have paperwork here to prove that. So, tell us what your interest rate was. And this is how it goes into play of what interest rate is, because I'm going to tell you.
On what I got on this house,
Yeah,
I was able to very fortunately lock it in at 3.25.
3.25. So 3.25%.
And this was 3 years ago.
And your mortgage is roughly $1,500 to $1,700 a month.
Lower.
Fuck you. Hence why you have to pay attention to these things. And they don't tell you this. I wish they told me. I wish we had a class in school.
No, if it were today, now how the rates have changed and the cost of houses have gone up. If I were to have to buy today, I would not live in this house. I couldn't afford this house.
100%.
But I got locked in at the lower rate and the cheaper price before all that changed with COVID. That it worked for us.
It made financial sense.
Yes. Yeah. If it happened today, no, I would not be living here. Absolutely not. There's no way.
Yeah.
And that's after having a job for X amount of years and this and that. Like, what are kids right out of college supposed to do right now?
You can't. I mean, you can. There's
What are they
very
supposed to
many
do?
ways, but it's harder. Like, you got to realize that, I mean, interest rates, like a perfect example to piggyback off of you, I bought similar plot of land, close to an acre of land, similar house square footage,
Yeah, square footage, rooms,
price
bathrooms, all
point
that.
around the same, right? My interest rate is 6.0, and I got locked in. Literally, I think it was 2022. Yeah, October 2022. So a little bit after COVID, that's when the interest rates started hiking, completely absurd. I got locked in at 6.0, and right after I got locked in, literally a month after, dude, rates go up to 8%.
Oh yeah, wild.
So what that
Wild.
changes, and you may say, well, I'm going to pay interest no matter what, and it's a mortgage, and it's on 30 years. It doesn't make much of a difference. Now let's go back into the 7-year mark. 7 years is going to be nothing but interest. So on 6%, my mortgage is $2,300 for the same fucking property that he pays $1,400 to $1,500 with insurance, with taxes, with everything included. I pay $2,300.
Absolutely great, which I wouldn't have done.
So I'm paying close to $800, right? Give or take, more than you for the same.
Yeah.
And the only reason I did it was because I got my sister-in-law, shout out to her, my brother's wife. She actually advised me, she goes, interest rates are not going down. Interest rates are going to go up. Don't be afraid, and I'm going to go into that later. Interest rates are going to go up to 7, maybe 8, and they did. So that not only doubles. So imagine 3 points. So we went from 3% that he got, and I got 6%. That's 3 points.
Still raising.
I literally, my mortgage went up $800.
Mm-hmm.
So add another 2 points, give it another $400. You're almost at $3,000 in mortgage. That means that you need to make roughly $10,000 to $15,000 a month to be able to afford this fucking house. And if you have a family, groceries, all that shit, you have to have a job and another job to back up that job, and you need a side job, and you need to Uber on the nights just to be able to afford this shit. And that's it. And buy scratch-offs here and there just to make sure you maybe
just for hopes.
Just for hopes. Now you know what I do every weekend. But yeah, and here's the reason that I brought this paper here, because I actually researched and I got this from a decent source. Now don't quote me on this. I did a 20-year research of interest rates, and this is why interest rates are important, right? So you would think that this is the highest, right? Now
it's the highest that we've had to worry
that
about.
We've had to worry about it because we're in this moment, right?
Yeah,
we're homeowners now. The interest rates for 20 years have actually been higher. In 2002 and 2003, interest rates were 6 to 6.5. Okay, 2004 to 2006, they went from 6.5 or 6 all the way to 7. Okay, from 2007 to 2008, interest rates stayed steady at 7%.
Mm-hmm.
Market crashes at 2008. Interest rates have to drop because nobody's buying. Nobody can afford to buy. The market fucking crashed. Well, guess what? We need to sell all these houses. They dropped the interest rate to 4 and 5, which is 2 points, fair.
Yeah.
And then in 2012 and 2013, nobody's still buying houses. People are foreclosing left and right. People are losing their homes, sadly, because of the high interest rates and because of bad loans and all of that finite detail. You can do your own research what that happened and why it happened. 2012, you can watch a great movie. It's called The Big Short. What's the actor from?
I haven't seen.
Watch that fucking movie. Holy shit! They go into depth.
The Big Short.
The Big Short. It's Christian Bale, the Batman. He is Michael something. He is one of the biggest investors, and he made billions on betting against the housing market. And everybody thought he was fucking stupid. They go, wait, you're betting billions on the stock on the housing market that's never crashed. It's never crashed in the history of housing market. It's never crashed. It's the most secure thing because you always build equity.
Right.
You can never lose on the housing market. That's the one steady thing that's always kept from the S&P, from stocks, from investments, from Roth IRAs, from 401ks, from every single thing that you can imagine as far as savings. That's the only thing that's actually continued to be on the up and up as far as returns. Now, 2012-13 goes from 4 to 3.5. 2016, 4 to 4.5. 2017 through 19, 4.5, stayed steady. Now, COVID exacerbated every single thing. Everybody's locked up. Nobody's buying fucking houses.
Nobody. Everybody's
fucking dead as far as the market goes. A lot of people lost their jobs. I was one of them. It was a horrible scenario for a lot of people that couldn't do anything, or they wanted to, but they couldn't. But the positive came out as far as the market. It went down to 3%, which is, give it what, from 2021 to 2002, give or take, that's almost, 18 years, something like that?
Yeah.
So you dropped to 3%, and then 22 came up, and that's when it hit the shit again.
Skyrocketed.
Why? Because 3% created what? It created inflation, and it also created, obviously, all the stimulus and all that shit created inflation.
Mm-hmm.
We need to repair that money back. Free money ain't free. Long story, 2022, what happens is that everybody's selling their fucking houses because they want to get a bigger, better house. Now you could afford it. You have all these stimulus checks. You have all this extra saved up money. People are working from home. People get actually a lot of incentives to get jobs. Yeah. And people got some raises because they retained good people. They wanted not to lose those people. So people made a little bit more money, and a lot of entrepreneurs came out. A lot of people that said, fuck it, I'm like me. I was deemed, what was the word? Non-essential or whatever the fuck it was.
Yeah, non-essential worker.
I had to start up my own business in order for me to cope and save or make some money. And then they had to bring them to 3.5, 4%, right? All of a sudden, everybody bought houses. They see the market's going crazy, so they say, how do we make some fucking money? Fucking raise the interest rates. inflation. We need to do that. That's the only way to bring down inflation. The money has to come back in. Long story, I don't know. I'm not an investment banker. Long story, I just want to prove that you shouldn't be scared of the interest rates for two reasons. First of all, historically, for 20 years, they've been going up and then they come back down. As soon as something happens where they don't sell enough houses, which is the case right now, nobody can afford to buy a fucking house, right?
No.
And even with programs like FHA, if you don't know what FHA is first-time home buyer, you get to give down 3.5% down. Now the mortgage might be a little bit.
You can give a
lot less
down.
And it's through Sally Mae and a lot of companies that actually do finance for first-time home buyer. They give you a lot of credits for you to be able to buy that house, down payment assistance, X, Y, and Z. Look into it if it's your first house. 100%. That's what I used when I bought my house in 2017, my apartment. It will go down again, I think. And it has. It went from 8 to 6.
I think it will.
And I think that
it's going to take.
It's going to take a while. It's going
Not
to take
soon.
maybe a year. But here's a perfect example of why you shouldn't be afraid to buy now. If you're actually right on the verge of buying or thinking, fuck, should I save this money? Should I put it in a Roth IRA? Should I use my 401k? Should I use this? I will always give you this piece of advice. The stock market crashes, your 401k does this.
Yeah.
Any investment that you have does this as far as the stock market goes. Take that fucking money out. Take advantage of a lot of these programs like FHA or giving less money down and buy that house. Now you might be deterred by everything we just said.
Scaring people
you just scare the shit out of us. Fuck you. Buy the house, right? So you buy the house and you get the 6% interest rate. If you're at 6%, well, guess what? You bought the house. You're a homeowner. Congratulations, you did it, right? You're got a high interest rate. Guess what? Find a way to pay it down a little bit faster. Send a little bit extra money. If you actually send another payment in 1 month or something like that, I believe it's like it's a trick that you do where you can send half of your mortgage on the 15th of the month prior, and then the other half on the 1st that it's due. And by default, because there is 12 months, you're sending an extra payment per se. There's 26, weeks, weeks. I'm sorry. So you can actually, there's ways where you can pay it down. And then best case scenario, interest rates go down. Interest rates go down, you refinance. Yep. You go from that 6 to 3, boom. You automatically have the same loan.
And very possibly, if you could, refinance to a 15-year.
100%, which I would fucking do in a heartbeat, just for the simple basis.
Well, and it comes down to it. If you refinance to a 15, your monthly payment might not change at all. Mm-mm. It might go very slightly up if you can afford it. Cool. If it might go down, who knows? But and that's where the big thing came into the interest they take out from the first 7 years. That if you could refinance to a 15-year, you're paying it off that much sooner. You're paying that much less interest. Mm-hmm. But there's hard to do, hard to figure out for sure.
And it isn't as scary as you think. Like, yeah, there is some heartaches, there is some headaches. But then again, think about it this way: if you're renting, there's a lot of, like I said, there's a lot of pros. If you have a job that's kind of, you work from home and then you get offered a job in Arkansas, it's a lot easier to end your lease.
It's a lot easier to end a lease and bounce,
right? You have some ability if you're an entrepreneur or a freelancer, or you do something like a podcast, or you do streaming, or you do something where you're making money and your streams of income are completely, sporadic from different places. Well, then you can bounce at any time. It's harder to sell a house, especially in today's market. It's really hard to fucking put a house for sale that somebody can get qualified for, and obviously that are not scared to do it. There is a lot of positives from doing that. And obviously the negatives outweigh the positives sometimes, but it is a good thing. I think that, and I literally researched it, the Gen Z, which is, I think it's 18 through 25 age variance or whatever. Okay. So 18-year-olds to 25-year-olds. 54% of them in the United States still live with their parents.
I'm going to be honest real quick. I assumed it would be higher. I thought it was going to be higher than that.
Well, there's a lot of the new community where they're doing podcasts or doing social media or influencers or stuff like that.
That took a jump.
So that took a jump during COVID, and obviously
it took a huge jump.
It diminished. But 54%, that's a little bit, that's more than half.
More than half, yeah.
Right? More than half of that Gen Z, 18 to 25. And specifically, they don't want anything to do with it. Because of coddling or because of fear or because they fear monger. You hear all the negatives and you hear, oh my
Right.
God, don't buy because you can lose your house. Look at what happened in 2008 and look at what this and look at what that. There's always going to happen. If shit hits the fan, it's going to hit the fan on everyone. 2008,
It's not
fucked
gonna matter. Right.
everyone. I don't
Yep.
care who you were, if you were a janitor or if you were a fucking investment banker. It fucking hurt everyone. So if it or another COVID, we're all locked up.
Yeah.
We're all done,
Right.
right?
Just
It
restarts.
fucking restarts, right? Or AI takes over. ChatGPT says, "Fuck it."
Yeah, we lose half our jobs to.
Fucking, that's it. ChatGPT fucking takes over. We're done, right? There's no point that you can say, okay, there's a negative. I always say, if you can have a piece of the pie, and also fucking take the plate home, it's always better than fucking just getting a slice.
Yeah.
It's stupid analogy, but it's a little bit better to actually like be a part of it. And like I said, you don't like the house, you're fucking done, and you don't want any stress. Sell it, cash out, put it in a fucking account. There's ways of doing it where you don't pay taxes on it. There's loopholes. There's tax leniencies that you can do where you can actually walk out with that cash and not having to buy another fucking property. You don't have to reinvest. You don't have to do any of that, as opposed to the rent. And now, once again, there are a lot of amenities from rent. Yeah, there's a bunch of different variables. Now, you do your homework, you do your research. There's a lot of great fountains. There's a lot of great podcasts. There's a lot of great people that can help you. And shit, go to a realtor. Tell them, I want to get pre-qualified.
Yeah.
Run my credit. Tell me what I need. And they'll tell you too. You'll tell them, I need credit cards, X, Y, and Z.
Talk to multiple.
Talk to multiple different
Don't
people.
don't go to one advisor, get their advice, tell them that you're gonna hear them tell you what you need to do and go with it, because they might be wrong. Get that same advice from a couple.
Get a second opinion like you're going to the doctor.
Yeah.
Get all your information. And same goes for renting. Make sure that you have a landlord that takes care of the place, that actually does his due diligence,
Right.
so you don't have to run without fucking water for 3 weeks. With all that being said, there's a lot of negatives to both parts. There's a lot of positive to both parts. We kind of want to keep this one short. If you want to hear a part 2 about this and go more into depth, let us know. Comment in our social media. Shoot us a DM.
Or any questions about it.
Fuck yeah, 100%. We'll even do shorts. We'll kind of give us an episode, or we'll do another 30-minute podcast where we say a little bit more about this.
Mm-hmm.
We want to wrap this up with saying that it is a pleasure to kind of fucking do this again, and hopefully you guys are more engaged in this one and you kind of like the topic. Comment about it as well. We have that information for you guys so that you guys can hear firsthand perspective of just a regular blue collar 2 men that are trying to fucking live out here, whether you're a girl or a boy or a fucking whatever you are. The finance part is a fact, and that's what you got to base off of. Learn all the shit that you need to, get all the information that you need to, and that way you can make the proper choice so that you can actually, fucking jump that next letter step and
That's all it's about.
and move up in the world.
Get to the next letter.
And that's all we're doing here. We're trying to help you guys better yourselves with the shit that nobody taught us, and that we are learning the hard way, per se, with fucking broken pipes and broken water heaters and his clogged pipes. Long story short, guys, thank you very much for listening into Fence Talk number 2. Stay tuned for Fence Talk number 3. This will be posted, and then stay tuned for everything, man. Thank you guys for following along with us. Thank you guys for staying tuned, and let us know what you guys think about the logos.
We'll see you guys for number 3.
Cheers, brother.
Cheers.
Cheers, guys.